is a caliber. This is gonna be my measuring video. I have some things laid out for you. If you could see, I have a test indicator right here. I have a caliber. I have my first part here. I have my first lathe part. It looks like it's made correctly, but it actually isn't. And I purposely threw off some of the lengths so that it can be more of a teaching experience than a showing experience. And we're gonna identify how to correctly identify what lengths are off and how to fix some minor problems and identify minor problems and take a look at how to fix these that you're gonna experience. So the first thing I wanna do is I wanna show you, I'm gonna put the lathe project aside and talk about the mill project. Now, this project is supposed to be 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. And I have a 1 inch height block here that I got. These are my height gauges right here, and you can see I have a couple stacked up right here. And I have another one right here. This is the 1 inch height gauge. Not sure if it says 1 inch on the side of it, but it does. It says 1 right there. And why I have this out is to set this whole, to set up this whole process. My height gauge boxes look like these, and they're found, it's just like a regular box. Looks like an old box. It's got some gauges in it. It's got some numbers in it. And the nice thing about them is, and this is it closed up, their exact height from here to here. So if I take this out, this is a 2. You can see it says number 2 on it. I kind of rotate it around. This in the 2 inch block right there. And the cool thing about these is that they're exactly 2 inches in length. They might be a little worn out now, but they work pretty good. And this one's our 1 inch, and we know what the one cube is supposed to be 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. So if I come down, and you can kind of see that dial moving around, and you can see that I'm right here at the 5, and right over here, that little dial right here is not all the way past that other tick mark. Now I'm going to use this, swing this back over here. I'm going to set the 0 right over here. What happens is I'm going to put this block underneath it. You can see I'm actually over, and I think it has a lot to do with the paint that I have on here. I know it does. I still am about 1,000th. I'm a little bit over, but what I can use this for now is 0 is exactly 1 inch now. And you can see I'm a little bit over. So I could take off more material, but I know it has to do with my paint because I've actually measured all these, indicated all these out. And this 1 inch height block is about 1,000th under from it being used so much. You get an idea that this thing isn't level. And if I turn it over to this side, bring it back down, you can see that the indicator is dropping down on all 3 of these. And the last one I have to do is this one. We only have we only have 3 parallel faces, and there's something underneath here too. So you can see that probably my height gauge is a little bit off because I mic'd them in at 1,000th of an inch. But you could totally see that this part isn't flat. And I think it has a lot to do with right now with the paint that I have on there. You see the paint's kind of picking it up. And I'm getting this all ready to machine, but I just use this. I can use this 1 inch to measure 1 inch real quick on each of these. And this is how I'm going to probably grade your projects. Now over here I have a 3 inch and a 1/2 inch, and you can kind of see it right there. It's a 1/2 inch, and it's kind of tough to see, but it says 0.500. If I hold it like that, you might be able to see it a little bit better. And this is the 3 inch height gauge, and you could tell that this is 3 plus 1/2 is 3.5, and that's the height of my lathe part. I'm going to bring this into focus now. And I can actually use this height gauge the same way I did for the block. I could pick up my indicator stand, Trying to get as close to 0 as I can. I'm right about there now. And you can see I'm now way past the 0 over here. And what I'm going to do is bring my part directly underneath. So you can see that total, and I knew I was a few thousandths over. I'm almost 10 thousandths over here on my overall height. I'm like 7 or 8 thousandths over. And I could actually get a pretty accurate reading also with my caliber. So I'm reading about maybe 7, this is 5 thousandths, that's 10 thousandths, but this thing isn't sitting flat. I'm probably about 7.5, 8.5 thousandths over. And I can also use my calibers to record that by turning them on and opening it up and checking that measurement. So this is about 8.5 thousandths off, and look there, 3.5 and 3.50, 8 thousandths off. I can slide this down on the back and check these. I know I'm significantly off on this one, so I'm marking at about 1.51, so I'm 16.5 thousandths off on that side. Then the rest of these get difficult because you can see the caliber is kind of angled weird. So you really can't use a caliber, but if we were just kind of guessing, or maybe you could if you slide the caliber up and down. So I'm going to try and move this back a little bit so you can still see the caliber reading maybe. And if I use the very bottom of this caliber, which you can kind of see maybe right now is 3.52, which we know it's not that far off on the overall length, but this actually works out decent for all of our other step lengths. It's saying that this length here is 1.97. This length here is 1.5, which it should have been, and this length here should be 1 inch, which is gosh darn close right now. And as you can see right now, I'm at 0.99. So let's just check, and we'll go ahead and bring this in and measure this. Really close to 0 still, like maybe a half thou under. So I have the 1/2 inch and the 1 inch right over each other. And right there I'm at basically 15 thousandths. And actually I'm not far off on that one either. Like I was saying, that was going to be pretty close, and that's almost 15 thousandths. So I'm pretty close on those. The bottom two are probably my best as tall. So I'll grab the 2-inch height gauge, move this up, tighten everything up a little bit here. I'm gonna almost bury that needle, and it goes around 2 or 3 times. Now I'm just picking it up, so I'm probably, like I said, I was about 30 thousandths. Here's 15, here's another 15. So I'm about 30 thousandths off on this part, and that's what we measured out there, 533. So the extra 3 thousandths would have put us right there about 1, 2, 3. So yeah, 33 thousandths off is pretty horrific, but that's kind of how you measure these heights really easily with this height gauge in here. This little V block will help balance your part, so when you go to measure it, you can easily get maybe more easily get the measurements here now. With it stable, it will not fall over as easily, so you can get a little bit more accurate read with a V block. When you're assessing run out, you're going to have a little bit because these are brand new lathes and they haven't been broken in yet. And we want to find the highest point, so there's 5 thousandths. And I'm going to loosen this up. It might be as much as 2 thousandths off run out, this run out right here. Find the highest point in the material. So right now my highest point is a few thousandths past 5. I turned it 90 degrees and I'm still about a thou and a half past 5. I'm going to turn it another 90 degrees, thou and a half, maybe thou and a half still. Turn it another 45 degrees. This one's actually has great concentricity all the way around. Each time I move it, maybe 5/10,000ths of an inch. It's pretty much perfect. So those are just ways to measure your concentricity of your part.